All right. Well, we're trying to get Eric into the chat or into the room, and as we do that, I think we're going to get started. Welcome to the Michigan Works Association 2020 Annual Conference. My name is Jeff Cassidy. I'm the Director of Policy with the Michigan Works Association. On behalf of the staff of the association and all of our sponsors, we thank you for being a part of the conference in this session titled RESEA 2020 and Beyond. Right now, it looks like we got about 57 people, so we're very excited to present to you and talk to you. A big shout out of thanks to CVS Health for sponsoring today's workshop session. Our sponsors help make this conference happen, and we're very thankful for their support. Along with our sponsors, our exhibitors who have also given their time to be a part of our event. So please be sure to visit the exhibitor booths during the designated exhibit hall times. Please make sure your audio is muted, and if you do have questions, put them in the chat and we will try and answer them as they come in. We're also eager for your feedback about the conference in this session, so please take a few moments to complete the short survey, and the link to the survey will be posted in the chat area. All the presentations are going to be available post-conference on the Michigan Works Association website. And now I would like to introduce your speakers for this session. Barb Emmons, Departmental Specialist with the state of Michigan. Eric Davenport, who we're trying to get in on the panel right now. He is the Reemployment Analyst with the state of Michigan. Ken Gorlewski with Networks Northwest Michigan Works. Anna Willman-Onstott with Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. And Kim Onstott with Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. So thanks very much for joining us today, and go ahead and kick us off.
Okay, great. This is Barb Emmons, and I'm going to start us off today. Would first like to thanking everyone for going above and beyond and continuing to serve our RESEA claimants during these unprecedented times. You all are true champions. You really stepped up to the plate and got our RESEA claimants served since March. You figured it out. You really were aggressive with the phone calls and making sure people were getting their appointments completed. So just a huge thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are super. We really, really appreciate it. So you can go to the next slide. So the topics we will be covering today: RESEA performance, what's new in the RESEA policy that just came out, a new tool, my reemployment plan, to assist you with working with the claimants, unemployment insurance RESEA process for 2020, RESEA evaluations that will be coming up. And we are very happy to have with us two MWAs that will talk about their best practices. That's Great Lakes Bay and Northwest. Next slide. So how is Michigan doing compared to the other states in our region? Well, we're doing very, very well at 92%. So, and then we're, Ohio and Wisconsin are close behind us, but that was really nice to see that Michigan is really rocking out those RESEA appointments at 92%. Next slide. Yeah. And then to see how our Region 5 is doing compared to the other regions, we're at about 66%. Now, mind you, this is for 2019 right now. We're at 66%, but just to talk about how we've been doing in 2020 so far, we have scheduled about 83 claimants, and out of those 83 claimants, 7,800 were successfully completed. So we're around 94% for the state, which is great during these crazy times. We're still really getting in there and serving our clients in a very successful way. So the policy issuance that came out 2019, just to highlight some of the new things in there, is in regard to the second RESEAs. They now may be scheduled 45 business days from the completion of the first RESEA. We originally had it, you had up to 20 days, but a lot of people or a lot of MWAs were requesting longer than that. So here you go, 45 business days. Now you don't have to schedule that second RESEA the day of the first one. You can do it within those 45 days. Say the claimant calls you back saying, hey, I'm having a tough time. Can we meet again, talk things over? There, you can schedule the RESEA with them then. And as people who work with RESEA claimants, you are more than welcome to give the claimant a call and just check in to see if a second RESEA is necessary for them. And just something to note, that second RESEAs do not need to be held in person, just the first one. Yes, this note is not currently in the policy because we became aware of this after this came out. So when the next change for the RESEA policy, we'll make that note in the change one when that comes out. Next slide. And also the activities for the second RESEAs, the only thing that needs to be completed is the UI eligibility assessment and verification of the monthly work search and just reviewing their IEP. And again, with the IEPs, and we'll talk about this with my reemployment plan, you can use that in the beginning with the first one or in the second one. So my reemployment plan, MRP, NASWA and ETA developed this guide that re-envisions the approach to job searching for the UI claimants. And this is just a really nice tool for you to use when developing an IEP with the claimants. Also, it talks about job searching, creating resumes, job applications, networking, interviews, working with employment agencies and staffing agencies. It's just a really, really nice tool to use. Next slide. And the MRP was included in the latest RESEA PI. And within this MRP, there are really great links to videos for each one of the sections. And like I said, it's a great tool to use during the first RESEA when developing the IEP and even continuing that job search conversation during the second RESEA. Okay, do we happen to have Eric on for us yet?
Hi, Barb. We're still going to get him on.
Connected? Okay. Oh, he is in. Oh, just in time. Hello.
Good morning, everybody. Anyway, apologize for the technical difficulties. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Very good, very good, very good. So, yes, I caught the last two slides prior to this one, Kim. So it looks like, you know, the world is changing as we know it. And I never thought that when that song was one of my favorite songs that I would run to, that I would be singing that today, sitting in a chair, joining you all for the annual conference, during the midst of a pandemic, that I would use that as a cliche. So, but thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. Thank you for the hosts that are with us through video as well. And so we want to talk just a little bit, like we have been, about RESEA and what's the world of RESEA going to look like after COVID-19. Prior to the COVID and pandemic and other things, we were commissioned by USDOL to come up with a process of evaluating RESEA or RESEA because, as you know, it's no longer a grant, but now it is a line item. And because of that, evaluations are a part of that process. And we have been working on this now for probably almost a year, trying to identify as far as the evaluation, what do we want to do? How do we put that into motion? What are the metrics or the elements that we want to include? And so the two things that we want to share with you that we have identified as part of the world changing it, just due to the evaluation itself, and then also because of COVID-19, there will be a 2 referral week, or weeks, I should say. And you know, right now we have what is it, 523 referrals for RESEA across the great state of Michigan. We are not adding to that number. What we're simply going to do is take that 523 referrals that we do and split that as much as we can in half. And there will be a week 3 set of referrals. So we will have RESEA referrals that will receive letters on week 3 of them receiving benefits. And then we'll have what we've been using, which is our week 5. And so we will have both weeks going, and part of the evaluation is to try to identify, is one going to work better than the other? Is there a major difference? Is there no difference at all? Of course, all of those questions will be asked, and hopefully will be answered during that time when we're going through that. Going back to my notes. And then the other thing that we want to talk about is that there will be a second mandatory RESEA for anyone that's still receiving benefits 5 weeks after the initial referral that they're going to. And so the way that will look is for those claimants that receive a RESEA letter letting them know to contact their Michigan Works to schedule an appointment. When they receive that letter on week 3, for them it would be week 8 that they would receive, as long as if they're still receiving benefits. On week 8, they would receive another letter from unemployment insurance letting them know that they need to contact their Michigan Works to schedule a second mandatory RESEA. And then for those that are referred at week 5, they would receive a letter at week 10 for that. So that's where we're at with that. Again, this is a part of the evaluation process. We want to see if a mandatory RESEA appointment helps decrease the number of people that utilize all of their benefits or exhaust their benefits that have been referred to the RESEA program. And so the next slide, please. As we continue to look at LMI, part of that will be evaluating, and I apologize to the, there we go, evaluating the 3rd and the 5th week of referrals. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to look at the data, we're going to look at the numbers, we're going to see if one works better than the other one, or are we going to find that it really stays the same. Evaluating the second RESEA effectiveness, again, we want to see, comparing that to past data that we have, because as you are aware, the second RESEAs have not been mandatory. They've been based, depending on the conversation that we've had with the common customer. If both parties feel that a second RESEA is appropriate, then one has been scheduled. And we will take that data, we'll compare it with the data once the second RESEA mandate has gone into effect. And then we are evaluating the profile model. USDOL recommends that the profile model be evaluated every 2 years. They suggest every year. It is something that is updated. Of course, with COVID now, some have gone as far as say is that it should be looked at every quarter, because things are changing so quickly. The ebb and flow of this is not one that can be predicted, and that's what they're indicating. So we're looking at that with LMI at the state level, and we're talking with those that are involved with that, asking them, you know, How quick can something like that be changed? What steps are necessary for us to take to be able to change it, to make it fit into where we're at today? And of course, we're going to be looking at, as we walk this out, as we walk down this path, we're not only going to be looking at having a broad general net that covers the whole state, but we know that those that are in the Detroit area are not the same as they are here in Kalamazoo. And we know that here in Kalamazoo, we are not the same as, say, up in the Upper Peninsula near Marquette or Munising or any of those other areas. And so as we walk through this, we're going to look at doing some different things and having different profile models maybe for different areas to better fit them, so that we're ensuring that those being referred to RESEA are receiving that you are receiving the best fit for your area. So that's a part of this evaluation process. But again, this is like laying bricks or cinder blocks. This is a one layer at a time. You do it in a process. You walk it out slowly. You look at the data. You let the data drive you, or help drive you anyway, in the direction that you're going to go to and through next. Those are the 3 points that I wanted to share on this slide. Again, thank you for joining us, and I know that we'll have some questions and answers afterwards.
Okay, next slide. All right, thank you, Eric. Now we're going to move on to the MWAs, talking about and we're going to be Lakes Bay.
Okay, so Kim and I will preface this. We've worked together for almost 20 years. We are not sisters. We are not in-laws. So you just get blessed with two Onstotts today. So we're going to talk a little bit about our best practices in Great Lakes Bay, Michigan Works. We cover Saginaw, Midland Bay, Gratiot, and Isabella counties. So we have a lot of different demographics within the group that we serve. Just a little note, if you're having a hard time seeing the PowerPoint, if you double click on that screen, it will enlarge for you, and then it will make all of our faces a little bit smaller for you. So first of all, in Great Lakes Bay region, when we're approaching RESEA, we really look to individualize the service to the specific job seeker that we're serving. So I know a lot of times it can be frustrating when people tell us that they're seasonal workers. We really try to look at each situation as if this person doesn't have an imminent return to work date. And that's a good approach, because what we found in COVID is that a lot of people did expect to return to work and then didn't. So we were able to have them prepared for services because that's the premise that we use when we're scheduling for RESEA. So we really try to make folks aware of the full array of services that we have, and to individualize that to what their goals are and what their experience is. So first of all, the ES advisors send an introductory email out to each of the participants by county. And there are samples of those in your RESEA policies. And we also have a local one if anybody's interested in that. One of the other things that staff do, it's a little bit trickier now with folks not coming in to register for work, but our employment services advisors try to review the participant's resume before they come into the service center. So before COVID, obviously most of those people, a very small fraction of them, wouldn't be in Pure Michigan Talent Connect because they had been in to register for work. So we try to look at that resume. If it really needs a lot of work, try to have some edits ready for that person. When we have phone contact with the individuals, one of the things that we try to do is to talk to them about what they're going to be interested in. So if somebody says, you know what, I think I'm ready to go, but I'd really like you to help me with my resume, we may already have an edited version ready for them when they get there. That way they can review it, and we're already a few steps ahead. The other thing we like to do is to have a starting point ISS for those folks when they're coming. So when they come in, again, it's not, we've got them partway to where they need to be based on our initial emails and conversations with them. So I think One of the other things that we utilize is a locally developed checklist. So of course, there are things that we are required to do with every RESEA. And then there are some things that we like to just make sure that we do so that we're consistent across all 5 of our counties. So for example, we make sure that we document the identity of the individual coming in. Way back in EUC days, we learned that that was an important thing to do so that we didn't have someone trying to complete an activity for another individual. So that's just another little piece that we learned. And it does, when we have staff moving back and forth between sites, or we have job seekers who maybe have been assigned to RESA before and go to a different area, that experience is similar for them as they move through the process. We review all of the documentation when they come in for their appointment. And this includes the job search forms. And really when we're reviewing the job search forms, that's kind of twofold. So when you're looking at the job search form, a lot of people are just struggling to either fill out the paper copy form or the online form. So there's a lot of coaching involved with helping individuals do that. And then really the content of the job search that they're doing. So we work with them, and that really opens up discussions for, if they happen to be in the service center and we have an employer in the office for a single company job fair, we notice this person is struggling to have value added job search happening. We can say, hey, ABC company's here today. They're doing open interviews. When we're done with this appointment, you can go ahead and go into that activity and show them how to enter that onto the job search worksheet. That also leads into some of the pieces that Kim's going to talk about next, which includes some of the websites that help people with their job search. So, okay,
from one Onstott to the next, I'm taking over. So during the appointment, we want to make sure that we discuss, and this is part of building the IEP with them, discuss any problems or barriers to employment that they may have. So maybe they're lacking childcare, and we can make that referral to DHHS and to help them find on the state website how to find daycares in their area to provide that list to them. So we make sure we address any barrier that they may have and make referrals. If it's not something that we directly assist with, we make those referrals out to agencies that help in our local areas. We also inform the participants of these available resources that we have. So we start with Michigan Works. A lot of people have no idea what Michigan Works, who all works at Michigan Works, what programs, partner agencies we have, what programs we have. So we explain we owe it to them, and the adult and dislocated youth programs that we have available, and the resources that are available through those programs, as well as the free resources that we have available right here in our Michigan Works offices that they may not be aware of. We tell them about our free workshops that we offer to assist with their job search needs and the resources that we have available here in our office. And of course, right now, due to COVID, they can't come in and visit our resource center. So we need to address those barriers that they may have and provide those resources virtually to them. We, in our region, our 5-county region, we have been having outdoor job fairs. So while the weather's good, we've been taking advantage of that and having parking lot job fairs. And so we make sure we tell them about any upcoming job fairs that we have in our local area. We have a Facebook page, and we also have, we're on Instagram, Twitter, and we make sure that they have those resources and how they can get to those resources, because we're constantly posting new jobs on our social media. So it's good for them to be followers and link to those pages. We explain who the partners are at our Michigan Works offices and who we have in our local area. So our veteran services and what's available with the veteran services, our high school completion and GED partners. So our local community education services that we have available for literacy, and Michigan Rehab Services and others like Goodwill Employment and AARP for the older workers. We explain all those partner agencies that we have. Then we go over our community resources, for example, the 211, the food pantries, all the local ins and outs for our area. So if you need clothing for an interview, who they can contact in our local area to get that, food resources, soup kitchens, things like that, free health clinics. Also, we assign them to attend a workshop. So, and depending on, this has been really difficult right now because of the COVID, but prior to COVID, they would come in and attend one of our free job seeker workshops that we offer. And so we were doing that in person. Since COVID, we have recorded workshops and put them right on our Michigan Works website, our Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works website, where they can watch. And now we're trying to, because we're not sure how long this is going to go on, we're trying to get to the point where we can do them live like this. So we could do like a Zoom workshop that they could come to where they can answer those questions live. And so how do we know that they attended those workshops right now when they're watching them? We either have a phone conversation with them on the phone and talk to them about the content of the workshop after they attend, or they can write a summary of the workshop and send it to the employment service manager. Now I'm going to go into the online resources that we go over at our RESEA appointment. We always do the My Next Move. So mynextmove.com is on ONET online, and we have them take the assessment and not sure what we want to do, or I'm not sure what I want to go into. So we have them do the interest assessment, and then we review those results with them. And the area that we go over the areas that they're interested in and that their results show that they have high interest in going into a certain career field. So we make sure we go over that with them. Then we go on next to the Michigan Labor Market Information.org. We show them on the labor market information site how they can look up some of those jobs where they showed interest and see what it looks like for their area that they live in and the wages for those positions. So there's a lot of great information on both of those websites. In ONET online, you can go in and look at different, you can look at the different jobs as well, or careers. Then we go over the Michigan e-library. This is a great resource. So if you haven't done this and you're not using this, this is a great resource. You can go to browse all resources and then go into the Career Exploration Learning Express library. And here they have a lot of free resources. All of this is free. Free resources on job searching, free resources on if you're going to be a CNA or a truck driver, they have how to study for those tests. They have practice tests for those. And it's not just those. They have realtor license testing, all of that. So that's great information on different careers as well. And then the Gcflearnfree.org. This is the Goodwill Community Foundation website. And they offer, if you go into topics, when you go to this website and you click on topics, you can see all the topics that they offer free training on. This is great. It has Microsoft on there. It has Excel. It has all the different computer trainings, how to navigate email, but it also can get into careers and different things like that. So there's lots of good things on there, even how to negotiate a salary. So there are videos and articles that you can read on there. So a lot of great free information. So that is the end of mine. Now we're going to move on to Northwest Michigan Works.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Ken, and a few years ago, I began facilitating RESEA appointments and used the checklist, which everybody has, and you've talked about it in the previous presentation. But what I found with the checklist, with some of the customers I was dealing with, the discussion became one way. It was a very static yes or no kind of collaboration. And it was mostly, from my perspective, a lot of data collection. I was just checking the boxes. But I thought there must be a better way to do this. So I thought about having a conversation versus just using a checklist. And I found the conversation was more two-way. It was more dynamic, and it was more informational. Okay, next slide. So when I have this conversation with one of the RESEA participants, I try to keep these three topics in mind. Where are they now? where do they want to go, and how do they want to get there? And when I'm thinking about these topics, I'm also thinking about the checklist as well, because I know I have to cover those items and those topics. So next slide. So where are you now? We start to talk about identifying strengths and weaknesses, and I try to use open-ended questions. Again, I don't want to get into this yes or no transactional kind of thing. I want them to start talking. I want them to start opening up. So we start with some questions. You know, what do you feel your strengths are? What do you feel your weaknesses are? And they might say, well, I don't have a high school diploma, or I'd really like to get some training. Well, that's where I take a little note, and we have some more discussions about that later. I also try to talk about job satisfaction. You know, you're laid off right now. Are you enjoying your current job? Would you like to do something different? And then we get into conversations of salary, benefits, career pathways, those kinds of things. The next thing I'd like to talk to them about during this whole process is their financial and emotional needs. Is this job that they've been laid off from meeting their needs? Is it meeting their family's needs? Do they want to do something different? And then at this time, I also try to broach some formal assessments that we might do with career exploration or some financial tools that we can use with them. Next slide. So the next thing I would like to talk to them about is, where do they want to go? And I always start with this question: if you could have the perfect job, what would it be? So then it opens it up a little bit for me to find out a little bit more about what they really want to do before we get into any of the ONET assessments and any of the other kind of career assessments that we do. Where do they really want to be in life? Where do they want to go? We talk about transferable skills. You know, what skills do they have now that they could build or ladder upon? Maybe they've learned how to weld in the garage, but they don't have a welding certificate. How we could accomplish making that into something more employable, more transferable to another position. And we also try to talk to them about identifying skills needed to be successful. And you know, those kinds of things are really important. And that's where we begin also talking about the labor market indicators. I show them the brochure. We go over those. Of course, regionally, everybody has one of those. But it really opens their eyes to what the high growth, high demand jobs are in our region and what kind of skills they may need to be successful with those, whether or not it's just going to be a high school diploma or whether or not they're going to need something a little more than that. Okay, next slide. So how do we get there? This is where we begin the discussion of the ISS and the action plan. And we start to develop the goals and what they're going to accomplish. That might, and at this time, I also like to share information about the Pure Michigan Talent Connect. A lot of our participants haven't used that system or that platform. So I go through it step by step with them, talk to them about how it could benefit their job search, how having a better quality resume on there could increase their opportunities, how having better keywords in their profile could mean more hits from employers. I also show them the Michigan Works orientation video at this time, give them an idea of all the services and partners we have available here. We also review their Pure Michigan Talent Connect profile, make sure that is up to date and current. We begin to talk about a career pathway. Where do they want to go and how do they want to get there? Whether that be an associate degree, bachelor's degree. We also discuss WIOA and apprenticeships and adult education. And if they need any of those services, we make the appropriate referrals to those individual programs. And we also talk to them about career advisor services that we have available and getting involved in the WIOA training, what that might look like. We also have the Veteran Service Officer here in our location. So if they're a veteran, I take them over and introduce them to our our veteran service officer, and I arrange services with that resource as well. Finally, the reemployment services. This is kind of the icing on the cake. This is where we have in the claimant participates in some formal assessments, whether that's the ONET, other career exploration kinds of things we have available. We also talk about workshops. Sometimes we're able to, right there, have a direct one-on-one workshop with them right after the RESEA appointment. Try to cut down travel time. We're a large region. Some people travel a long distance, so sometimes we'll try to piggyback those on the same day. During reemployment services, we also work with resume development. As the previous speaker talked about, we review resumes. We type up a resume for them if they don't have one available. We make sure it gets uploaded to the Pure Michigan Talent Connect. And we try to make that a two-way street. We tell them anytime they need additional services from us to please give us a call. We'll fill that need. This is also where we might make a referral to adult education for the TABE testing to see where their grade levels are. Are they at a level right now where they can compete for an associate degree or a bachelor's degree? And this is where I also take them over and introduce them to our career advisor here in our office. So they have that face-to-face contact, and they have an opportunity to meet her and talk to her about services that are available here in our office. And that ends my presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kim, Anna, and Ken, for sharing your best practices with us. Really appreciate that. Now we're going to open it up to questions.
I've got some questions from the chat. So the first question that we got was, will that second RESEA letter referral be listed in OSMIS to identify who has sent letters? What else should be involved in the second RESEA beside the UI, eligibility, verification of work search, and IEP? And when will this be implemented?
Yeah, those are all great questions. And as far as it showing up in OSMIS, it'll work the same way that the initial letter does. Everything will batch over once the letters are sent out and everything like that. So that process will continue. It should work as it currently does for the initial RESEA. Let's go to the last question, I believe, is when will it be implemented? And that is unknown right now. And we do apologize for that. It just due to the pandemic, a lot of things that were put in and had priorities, high priorities, have been pushed down because COVID has taken overall priority. And so there are still changes and adjustments that are being made due to the pandemic for that because of that. So to answer directly out, when will it be? We don't have an answer. We had a meeting just this last week. I think it was on Friday when we had it, and there was no given date when it will be implemented. Things have been turned in and handed in. The requests are there. Right now, though, due to the pandemic, we're waiting for those pandemic or COVID-19 items to be taken care of. In regards to the question about what other services, and I can't necessarily talk about programs because I'm not on the programming side. However, though, being in programs for 12 years, just a couple of suggestions that could come from me, and then I'll turn it over to Barb. Of course, you're going to look at the eligibility aspect of it. You're going to continue to look at some of those things, but when you're having your first initial RESEA meeting, and I've sat in on a few of them across the state, you kind of get an identity of where the person may be, either with their interviewing skills, their job searching, where they're job searching. You may get an understanding of where they're at with due to their resume. And of course, these all may be recommendations that you make to them during that first RESEA appointment or RESEA appointment. You may not at that time, though, refer them to a class or anything of that nature. But when it comes to the second then, that may be a great opportunity then to revisit some of those things that you've identified in the initial RESEA. Maybe they need some career coaching. I can remember sitting in on one, and here's a gentleman that wasn't even a sous chef yet, but he was talking about owning his own restaurant, running his own restaurant, being a director of a region for different restaurants. Yeah, you know, that might have been a career coaching opportunity had that been a second RESEA or something like that. But those are just the opportunities. Again, I'm not in programs, and so coming from Unemployment Insurance Agency, I am not going to tell the Michigan Works location on what they should do. However, I can't ignore my past 12 years either, working in programs and working with students and helping them job search. I can't help but give some of my experience on what I would do if I was in that field inside a Michigan Works office. Barb, is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think you did a really nice job there. Just those 3 requirements for the second RESEA is all that is needed. But like Eric said, if you find that there's more things we need to work on during the conversation, by all means.
All right.
You're not
The next question was, I find that most of my RESEA participants are student workers who get the appointment year after year. They're not happy about it, but they do the appointment. For the second appointment, I would refer to career advisors because they're most qualified for the yellow program. Would that count as a second RESEA appointment?
So I won't take the second half, Barb, because I'm not sure if that would qualify as a second or not. I think that's something that we would still have to discuss. But let's talk about the first section of that, about RESEA participants year after year after year. Hello, I have traveled the state. I've been as far up as Houghton, and I've visited down here even in Kalamazoo and Coldwater, areas of that nature, and everywhere in between. And that was the same common answer or response or question or statement or whatever you want to title it that I and Maggie Sales have heard. And to address that, we actually have put in a change request, or I want to call it a filter, if I may, please, that anyone who has attended a RESEA or an RESEA appointment in the last 5 years, as long as they completed it, if their name was drawn again, they would actually be set aside. That filter would actually kind of, if I may, push them out so that the next person could come up, a person who does need it. Again, that is one of those that was in line. It was a request that's been made, but then the pandemic hit, and guess what? It got pushed down. Even though it had a high priority setting, COVID is trumping everything. It just has. And so that is a change. That is an adjustment that has not been put into practice yet or put into the system. It is there. The request is made. We feel that with that filter, a lot of seasonal will be filtered out, if I may. I don't want to say eliminated because they're still being chosen. It's just that they're being put off to the side so that someone who hasn't attended in the last 5 years has that opportunity to come into your centers to receive the benefits. And what that does then is it allows you and those around you working in your facility to be able to give the services to the people who need it, the ones that are going to appreciate it, the ones that really are going to take it. Not saying that the seasonal workers don't, because I sat in a couple where the seasonal workers were very appreciative of the information that was being shared with them, but there was no intent for them to walk out what you were giving them. Not because they were being defiant, but because they had chosen that. That was their career path. That was what they wanted to do. And we've seen that a lot of people, unfortunately, who could benefit from the services you're providing to be able to find a career, they've been left out. So once this filter gets added in, we feel that a lot of the seasonal, you won't see that year after year person, shouldn't anyway, but you're going to get those people who really will benefit from the services you provide. Barb?
Yeah, trust me, we've heard you guys on those seasonal workers, so we're working on it. In regards to the second part of that question, with the second RESEA, as long as those 3 requirements are being completed, referring them over to a WIOA program is great, but it's those 3 requirements that need to be completed for the RESEA appointment, the second one.
Thanks a lot. This next question is for you, Ken. I get a lot of, I want to own my own business and be my own boss answers for that perfect job question. But typically they don't know what type of business they want to own, just that they don't want a traditional job. How would you address this?
Well, again, in this conversation, we started talking about likes, dislikes. I might bring up maybe with them what kind of hobbies and interests they have outside of work. But we have an advantage here. We have a small business development center locally in Cadillac at College. And I pass along and refer them to the people working there. They have really nice education workshop that they have for new businesses, for entrepreneurs, and we've had some of our participants take part in those.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any final comments or any final questions? Okay.
I think we're all set.
Any final comments from our moderators, or I'm the moderator, from our panelists?
Just thank you very much for taking part in this presentation. I hope it was helpful, and keep up the work with working with our folks. You guys are doing a fantastic job.
One question did come up. When will the work search requirements be started again post-COVID? Has anybody heard of anything on the horizon about the work search requirements? And can anybody speak to that at all?
On the unemployment insurance or the UIA side, we have not heard anything in regards to that. So no information from us to be able to pass along.
Okay. Well, thanks again, everybody. This ends our presentation today. I'd like to thank our presenters. Thank you very much. We appreciate everyone's time. I hope you have had some time, some great takeaways, and will enjoy all of the features of our conference. The exhibitor and networking break is next, so please take time after this session to video chat with our exhibitors or watch their videos. Or you can go to the networking tab to be randomly paired with another attendee for 2 minutes to meet new people. So thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you later on in our conference. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.